Hi, are you feeling a little bit overwhelmed and chaotic in life right now and really wishing that you had a chance to just slow down for a few minutes? If you could go outside, take a nap, whatever, right? Do you find yourself saying, if you could, you would? Well, I'm Val. Welcome to my channel. And I am in that phase as well. I'm trying to follow my own motivations and my stories that I'm sharing on my channel stem from this if you could, you would. So I have some videos that I've been doing about a series about I quit, and several years ago, I walked away from a career as a college professor. I was in the car a lot. I lived in an urban area. And I was just really having this motivation of like, if you could, you would XYZ. Live in the countryside, figure that out, like start over, start a new life, be in nature more often. And I find that now that I'm actually out here, that I also still say, if I could, I would. If I could, I would spend more time down here by the river or going on walks, for example. During 2020, I discovered and became certified as a forest therapy guide. I also took naturalist classes with the state park system. What we're going to do right now is I'm going to read a little bit of poetry and then take you for a short walk. This is not technically a forest walk guide that I would normally do, and it's also not a naturalist walk. So I'm not necessarily going to identify species, geology, habitats, all that kind of stuff. It is really kind of a combination of these two concepts, and I'm really just encouraging people to just find those moments to go slow. I also have been very concerned about how quickly artificial intelligence has started to impact our daily lives. It's becoming very commonplace, even in art. Um, Adobe is now creating prompts that you don't even have to work for to create an illustration. So this is all very mind-boggling, and I think these thoughts about like, well, what happens if robots do take over, right? Or like massive amount of people, like we start losing jobs or whatever. And what does it mean to just be human on this planet, right? If all of these other things are being, what we're told we're expected to do, like work for a living, put in money for a 401k, buy a house, picket fence house, and um, be within a capitalism system, and then you retire and you get to like sit on the couch and watch TV, right? So what happens when that starts to crumble? What does it mean to be like, what else is there for us, right? As creative minds, as brain, a brain inside of our head. And I really think a lot of it is, I hope that we will maybe have more time to be creative, to write more or read more or tell stories or come together more and experience the natural environment in a much more profound way. I found this little handy book last year. Um, and the back says the poems expertly gathered here offer all that one might hope for in spiritual companionship, wisdom, compassion, peacefulness, good humor, and the ability to both absorb and express the deepest human emotions of grief and joy. The book includes a short essay on mindful reading, so I highly recommend this. And I'll try to put a link in the description. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to go ahead and let us enjoy the water here, um, read a few of these very briefly. and then take you on a short walk. So I hope you enjoy it. Please subscribe. And what I'm doing here is a weekly motivation. So today is Friday. I'm calling this series Forest Fridays. And it is the second week of November. I'm in the foothills of Appalachia. You can see the limestone cliff bluff behind me. We will be walking up a trail up there and kind of view the river from up above before walking into the field. And let's see, what else do I want to tell you before we get started? Yeah, I just want to encourage people to find these moments of respite and peacefulness and calmness. A lot of people, when I was in a really more chaotic urban suburban lifestyle, people were like, oh, you need to do yoga or you need to meditate or whatever. And I just like, I didn't have clue like what meditation, like how that worked. I couldn't really figure it out. So I think that walking and just kind of being in nature and listening and turning off devices, turning off piped in music, turning off like those types of sounds, and just kind of connecting back to kind of all of these other elements that are around us. I also hope that this series may be beneficial for those who might have accessibility. Maybe you are homebound for whatever reason and you don't have the opportunity to get to a place, um, or you're in a different geographic location and enjoying the change of scenery. Uh, it rained the last for like 24 hours, and we might see some more dampness or calmness because uh, the before the storm came through, it was like super windy, and I wanted to wait until things kind of calmed down to see the river. You'll also, in this series, because I'm doing it once a week, we're going to notice the change of scenery, right? The change of the seasons, and see the same thing over a period of time. And as an artist, photographer, designer, that's like something also that like super appeals to me, like how time, like you can be in a different the same place at different times and like have different experiences, right? Different stories. Um, and the way that the water works here, the level of the water is going to be different, the sound of the water is going to be different, and all of those things, right? So what they say, I keep hearing this saying about like there's nothing constant in the world except change. And I think that being down here kind of helps us to come to terms with that, right? So if we're not good with change, maybe this will help you as well. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so I'm reading from this, and I started on the section that is part 1, impermanence, and I'm marking this book up so that I'm reading more in a row so I don't lose and don't repeat myself. So a lot of these are haikus or old translations. Oh, there's a Robert Frost in this. Okay, so we'll read 3 of them. This first one is called ryokan. Ryokans are actually a traditional, kind of like bed and breakfast in Japan. And this is translated from the Japanese by Sam Hamill. It is probably from the late 1700s or early 1800s. All right, here we go. I never longed for the wilder side of life. Rivers and mountains were my friends. Clouds consumed my shadow where I roamed, and birds passed high above my resting place. Straw sandals in snowy villages, a walking stick in spring, I sought a timeless truth. The flower's glory is just another form of dust. This next one is also a Japanese poem. translated by William Lafleur. It's called Saigyo, from the, let's see, 1100s, which is quite old from now. All right. Detached observer of blossoms finds himself in time, intimate with them. So when they separate from the branch, it's he who falls deeply into grief. All right, and then I'm going to read a Robert Frost that's next on this page 8. And Robert Frost was born in 1874, died in 1963. He's very much someone we think about when we think about nature poems. Nothing gold can stay. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. Her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down to day, nothing gold can stay. So let's hang out here for a few minutes, enjoy this. If you feel like you want to fast forward until we go for the walk, but we're going to just sit for a few minutes here. Uh, So, reading some Japanese poetry today, I thought that I would just share a little bit more about kind of the philosophy of forest therapy. The term shinrin-yoku comes from the words forest bathing in the Japanese tradition. There's research that they did in the 80s when a lot of people moved to an urban environment. Um, and because they have a medical healthcare system, they know kind of social, they started noticing that there was a significant rise in illnesses, cancers, all sorts of things. They did focus groups and also did all of those sorts of testing, blood work, EKGs, all those different things. And they found that the focus group that spent time in nature had significant reductions. And through that process, they realized that trees emit um, what they're calling phytonicides. And that is so that the trees help each other with fighting off diseases and that type of thing. And what they discovered is that if humans spend time in nature around trees, we can absorb these phytonicides and they build natural killer cells, NK cells. So even if you can only spend 15 minutes outside or bring nature into your home with plants, and that is a helpful benefit for you. There's another book that I like to recommend called Joyfulness. I'll put a link into it. And she talks about being happy and doing research around the world and how nature kind of integrates into the idea of happiness. So maybe I'll do a book review on that. Meanwhile, what I like to say on the rest of this walk is I want you to notice what you're noticing. I will talk, but there will be some moments of silence so that you can just observe, or if you're multitasking, maybe you can just put aside what you're doing and turn your notifications off and turn your ringer off so that you're not getting text messages and that kind of thing for the next 15 minutes or so, however long this takes. What I like to also notice for myself is like the trees, that how trees start and how they kind of withstand the forces around them, right? And how we can learn through a tree like this that is growing in a spot that maybe we wouldn't expect it, and how resilient it is. And here's some of the leaves and the fruit that it has. All right, so we're gonna go. I'm gonna try and go similar route each time so you can kind of see that. But sometimes I might switch it up. Okay, so let's get going this direction here. In the summertime, when there's a lot more rain, spring and summertime, this is the most amount of like baby trees that I've seen down here in a long time. A lot of times this is just all rocks, just plain, and I can walk around and not have to find a path. So hopefully the spring rains will do that too, because there's way too many baby trees here. This would kind of be difficult and would completely change the riverfront spot. Let's see, are there any fishies? Not that spot. Okay. You can see remnants of really heavy rains and heavy water forces with trees that have fallen into the river, in contrast with a lot of stillness where water collects because there isn't the volume enough to keep going. It creates these little ponds. Last year, we had such high rains and water that all these roots right here were all exposed. And now that's full of rocks again, just from one or two rainstorms. The Robert Frost poem, let's look for things that are gold here today on this autumn day. I feel like shades of gold are everywhere. If you watched last week's video, I talked about this little pond here. Now, in the summertime, this flows a lot more and then connects with the river up that way. And then as it gets drier into the summer, it all dries up. So this is a great little habitat for froggies and fishies. I need to tie my shoe. I'm going to set us down here for a second. Oh, got stickers on my sock. If you have any questions about where I am or identification of things or places that you see that you'd like me to walk to, please make a comment. At this point, last week, I was encouraging you to look up. It's pretty gray, overcast today, and the sun is blaring. So that actually is not a good view today. Tell you what, I'm going to turn us around and let's look up opposite of the sunshine. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, let's notice what we're noticing. In that book, Joyful, the author talks a lot about how looking up has become really rare and like luxury because we walk around with our phones and we look down a lot, right? We look down at life. So stretch, give yourself a stretch, and when you go outside, take a look up. All right, so we're gonna walk up the hill here. Thought I would go over here so you could look at this cool tree. Look at all the moss growing on it. Take a look up. Are you noticing anything different from last week? The leaves are more damp, so they're not going to make the same crunching noise I also find fascinating what just kind of pops up, what just starts to grow without any intervention from humans, at least. Whew, it's a little steep. Stairmaster. I feel like there's lots of gold today. Golden browns. Thanks, Robert Frost, for reminding us of that. Okay. Now we're up. That direction right there is where I was standing before. These trees don't lose their leaves until the spring leaves come out and push them off. So I love that they've changed color into that golden brown. And when the wind blows, they dance. So we were right down there a few minutes ago. You can kind of see that if the water is high, that's an island, and the water will go this way and around. What else are you noticing? If you want to put those in the comments. Okay, we're going to go through this section here and then go out into the meadow. Thanks for sticking with me. Under. So these are fresh. The other side last week, they were hard. So you can kind of hear the difference. But with the rain, they have some more moisture. The way you can tell what these are is to look underneath. So these, I believe, are either turkey tail or turkey tail imposters. This one's cool too. Oh, it's soft. The gold with the gold. Even the tall grasses kind of have a golden hue to them. Golden. I'm saying crap because I get a lot of sticker bush things from some of the weeds down at the river. So I'll be busy picking all that stuff off my coat this afternoon. So I just want to say thank you again for finding this video. I'm really new to YouTube, and I would appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe buttons. I just come back. My goal is to do this every Friday, so your enthusiasm will help me stay motivated in this quest to spend a little bit more time outside thinking about human being rather than human doing. Thank you. See you next time.